Okay, this is going to be a real quick little video this morning. I have a million things going on, taking the husband back and forth to the clinic to have his MRSA wounds cleaned up, and I've got a million bleaching things to do. And I just want to talk about something going on in the anti-without a box of Kleenex community. Just for a little thing, okay? You know who I am. I'm Suzanne Tidkamar. I used to write for Pathos for 10 years, a column called No Longer Quivering. Don't believe what I'm about to talk about today. In fact, that's what I'm kind of going to talk about is bullying and that whole 9 yards. Back in the many years ago when I first started doing scam baiting, and we used to call it Nigerian scam baiting, and some people still do because it's a 419 is the law code in Nigerian law for these people, and many of them are out of Nigeria. Not all of them. Some of them are out of the Congo and other African nations. There's a lot now that have emerged coming out of the former Soviet bloc countries. So this goes on all over the place there, and so you can't really say it's all Nigerians now, but for shorthand we would say Nigerian scammer. So there you go. I used to do this as a hobby, and it was a fascinating hobby, and it was not just scam baiting these people to get them to get tattoos and spend money chasing you around Africa. It was some other stuff going on. I've done some other positions there. One of the things that I used to do when I was doing this stuff was I was a warner. What is a warner? A warner is somebody who, once someone is identified as a target of these people, as the plump little pigeon ready to be plucked, the warners would move in and try to warn these people about what was going on, and that the person they were talking to was not a rock star, not somebody from CAL FIRE trying to raise money for some kind of tragic fire in California, not somebody raising funds for anything to do that they thought they were. And a lot of people would still go along with the scammer and say, no, you're lying. Well, I've seen this happening again and again and again and again and again and again in the anti without a box of Kleenex community, okay? And where they try to warn someone. Most of the time what happens is you warn someone and they back off from the whole thing because the warning is just too much too. It seems kind of crazy. And I understand this. This is one of these communities where there's so many bizarre things going on that unless you're actually involved in the community, it seems like a bunch of hysterical women, which it is not. If you look at Reddit's subreddit on this topic, I think the last time I checked there was like 14,000 different members. I'm not a member, but I do sometimes read and post there. So recently there's somebody that was warned, and there's been some squabbling going on, and all I can say is I hold nothing against anybody in that group. I hold nothing against the ones that are involved in this. In fact, I'm going to reach out to the one this afternoon when I get back from hauling the husband around to get scraped and just trying to get groceries. Here's my thing now. There are people I don't like in the community. There are people I adore. There are people that I tolerate. And I don't go after any of them. I think the time has come that we just do not go real life on anybody. If you want to say 2 or 3 people can be a warner, that would be one thing. But I think it probably is counterproductive when we have people who don't understand about why those in the anti-without a box of Kleenex community dislike her so much. They don't understand, and then there's like 10,000 of them contacting her, those people, saying, hey, be cautious of this person, XYZ. it starts to look like bullying, even though it isn't. It's just trying to warn people. So maybe we ought to organize ourselves and come up with 2 or 3 people that we're allowed to do this, because it's just too much. It's going real life, and it's really, I think it's harming the community in some ways. And um and I get that, and I understand that. I get why there's pushback. I've seen this in No Longer Quivering's involvement in the recovery community. You have people who say you're not doing it right, so they set up their own community and they keep circling tighter and tighter down with more and more rules. There's true believers, non-true believers, and it just gets ugly. I called it Survivor Wars yesterday, and it is Survivor Wars. I've seen this many times. I think the most evil one I saw went down among some members of Homeschoolers Anonymous and the Coalition for Responsible Home Education. I had a friend, Heather Doney, who was and I'm probably pronouncing her last name wrong. I have a friend named Heather who started the coalition, and she got pushed out by those that said she wasn't righteous enough. And she was pushed out of her own organization by some pretty evil folks, including one that writes not only anti-homeschooling type material, but also professionally writes a fundamentalist blog and a whole pile of stuff that makes me side-eye that person too. So in every community, there's going to be these things that happen. And the best thing you can do is just not get involved. Just look at it going, oh dear, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to be ugly. I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to engage. I'm just going to go off to the side. As many of you have seen, I try not to ever talk about Without a Box of Kleenex, because it's always just bad, okay? I am not her biggest fan, as you well know. There's been content thievery. There's been things that she's done and said about me that I don't like, that are not comfortable or fun or even right at all. There's the fact that she took my entire leaving church story and made it into her own there in that one video. And Bobby, the robot cat, has a video up where he has her story and my story side by side. So those are my reasons. Worked with her Pathos, saw the effery, noped the heck out, started to get drawn back in, and it went all haywire. So there are a lot of people in various communities that I interact with that I may not absolutely adore, that I don't mention. Why? Because we're all different people. We're all allowed to be different people. We're all allowed to look at things in a different way. And I just don't want us to shoot ourselves in the foot in any community. I want there to be openness and the ability to talk about these things. And show kindness to each other, especially in this community, because it is a lot. If you're not used to this community and everybody and their brother comes to you, it's a lot. Now, I will say this. I have not been as available the last 2 years because I had this friggin' thalamic stroke, and I've just suffered. I can't even begin to tell you what my suffering was like. It was bad. It's been bad. It's still bad. And I try not to talk about it too much. Just the stupid asthma and mast cell is one thing I rant about, because I've been ranting about that forever. But the stroke has been a lot worse in many ways, because it's robbed me of a lot of things, including the ability to live the way I want to live. So that's where I am in my life. And this is why when people contact me on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, and start telling me their traumatic stories, why I've stopped listening. I have had to draw some very distinct, hard boundaries, because I don't have energy, because the stroke has robbed me of so many things. And one of the things that has robbed me of is the ability to be merciful. I don't have that anymore. To be kind as I'd like to be. I'd like to be kinder than I am. So I guess this is me pleading with all of y'all to be kind to each other. regardless of what's going on. Now, if you want to throw rocks at a box of Kleenex, I understand that. I'm not going to throw rocks at her. I'm going to talk about the lawsuit, and whenever she makes outrageous claims that I can't pass without saying. But for the most part, I try to ignore her and just do my own content, because it's just counterproductive to talk about her this much. It just is. All you do is you grow her fan base, and it makes it look like she's a martyr. And the last thing I want to do is martyr her. She's not worth it. She's not worth getting all agitated either way. So if we can try and not go real life, that would be really nice. That would be a nice and kind thing to do as much as possible. Of course, you may totally disagree with me, and I'm fine with that. It is what it is. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a awesome day, evening, whatever. I got errands to run, and I absolutely hate that. I would love to have a day where I have nothing to do, and I could sit my butt in this chair, and if it'll show you what I'm doing, no, and quilt for the day. That would be really, really nice. You see, I've got a quilt that is put together and ready to sew, and I haven't had the time to do it. I sewed exactly one seam, and the world went haywire. So try to be kind to yourself, be kind to everybody else, and just try and decide where your line is on all of this. Because I know where mine is. I know what I'm capable of, and that's it. Love you guys.